We're back. Paul Fontaine, Jeff Hawkins here on the Dynamite Show on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel, also on X. And I want to thank everyone for watching and listening on the Fight Game Media free audio feed on Thursday morning. Jeff, we had a much-deserved week off, which was nice. And I'm going to talk a little bit, as you put it.
You had a week off. I was cooking.
Okay. Well, yeah. And I actually did have a week off because we didn't have Thanksgiving up here. But I want to talk a little bit about my experience with, my thoughts on Full Gear, even though they're ice cold at this point, and last week's Dynamite, just a little bit. I don't remember all of it. I didn't take notes. But before that, you said you had a question for me.
I do, and this is an offshoot of a conversation myself and Chris Novembrino on my highly, highly popular show, Shake Them Ropes, we're having. Because we've been discussing the emotional connection between the wrestlers and the material.
Okay.
And I also now have a question about something else that may lead, look, we have a lot of people in the internet wrestling commentariat who are discussing what's wrong with AEW and trying to fix things and whatever. And I've come up with another more basic building block here.
Okay.
What character in this fake world of AEW is there for the fans? Is doing it for the fans? Is the person who, just the straight ahead white meat, sometimes taken to a terrible level by WWE in terms of just pure, I'm doing this for you people, the fans, and I just hope you're proud of me type.
Well, I would say
who's the Dusty Rhodes?
You could have one of three choices, and there are flaws with all three of them. And I will give you three names. Number one, Orange Cassidy. Problem there is they beat him like a drum, and they beat him and they beat him and they beat him, and then they left him for dead, and then he just keeps coming back. The second one is Darby Allin. Same thing. But I will say Darby Allin, I think, actually, in some ways, he may be the most person that AEW fans, real hardcore fans, can identify with, because he's that baby face and he's getting beat down at a time when the company's getting beat down. And so people could probably identify with him somewhat. Third one, and they've dropped the ball with him severely, but he is the guy you're talking about, and they just won't do anything with them. Well, actually, there's a fourth, but he's not around right now, and the fourth is Eddie Kingston. But Mark Briscoe is that guy, but they don't push him that way. So
okay, let me stop you, because it's one of those things where number one, you're wrong about Orange Cassidy, because Orange Cassidy doesn't care. Remember, it's whatever.
Well, he does now.
Darby cares about the company.
Yes.
Darby cares about how the company gave him a job or whatever. Briscoe, you're close on. I would agree there. If he could be the top guy in AEW, maybe. I actually think the answer is Tony Khan.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And
because he's the one who comes out and says, I'm giving all these things to you, the fans. And that's part of the problem. The problem is it's not the wrestlers who are out there to, the baby faces aren't there for the fans. The baby faces are all a little bit self-involved in some way. Like Swerve even could be that guy, I would think, if he were more. I mean, you even look at how the company does outreach for fans these days compared to the beginning, when you'd have meet and greets and you'd have special events on pay-per-view weekends to, hey, come by here, meet your favorite AEW. I mean, the heels thing has even gone downhill fast since Brandy left. Mm-hmm. This is a company that is basically, I am giving you, and this is Tony saying, I am giving you all this product. Thank me. I'm doing this for you, type of a thing. And none of the wrestlers are connected to their audience in any ways, in addition to not being connected to the material. I think that's part of the problem. I mean, to go back to my 80s and 90s fandoms, you had guys cutting promos. I'm doing this for the people out there. I'm, as lame as it could be sometimes, Dusty Rhodes going, reach out to your television. I need your energy. Those kinds of just dumb little things
John Cena for
John
10 years.
Cena is the embodiment of this. And look, a lot of the more cynical fan base, oh yeah, but it's all an act, it's all fake, it's all this, whatever. Plenty of people believed it. That's all I'm saying. And it's one of those things where I think it's part of the problem. I wouldn't say it's a solution necessarily, but I do think it's part of the problem that we don't have a guy that I mean, because everybody else is when that guy I need AEW to stay in business because this is the only company that'll hire me type of a thing in terms of their internal story in this world that they exist in.
And the other problem with it being Tony Khan is he has kind of fallen out of favor with a lot of the fans that were behind him 5 years ago. You know, you go to the shows or, you know, even when he occasionally appears on camera, he's getting as many boos as cheers. And, you know, because he comes off as kind of cringe, you know, and he's not cool. And when he started, it was like, okay, he was this nerdy wrestling fan and he's giving us all what we want. And meanwhile, WWE sucks. And, you know, and we got this new company to get behind. And that was cool. And he was giving us an alternative and we bought it and we paid for the pay-per-views and we traveled to the shows and everything. And now WWE's gotten better. They got rid of Vince. Everybody likes Triple H. You know, there's a few people that don't, but most people like Triple H. And now you got Tony Khan on the other side who called him a bald asshole and who was not afraid to flaunt it when he was beating NXT. And, you know, and he made snark comments along the way. You know, remember that one about, in the long history of televised wrestling on cable television, Undertaker had never been in a segment that drew less than 1 million viewers. Okay. That aged like bad milk.
But let's go back to these facts and to something I said pre-show. When you buy your ticket for a wrestling event, you want to be able to tell your friends, I was there the night that this happened. Yeah. This big thing, this event thing, either an angle. And the thing that Tony's relying on is I was there for the match between, you know, Shelton Benjamin and Kyle Fletcher versus I was there the night the New Day turned on Big E. It's one of those things where there's not enough angle building. It's all matches to build the next match, to build the next match, to then build the next match. Well, that's a sports presentation. All right. It goes to my criticism of this is wrestling on television versus television wrestling.
It's barely that.
Yes.
Jeff. You know, like building to the next thing. It doesn't even really do that. DJ, I got your super chat here and I'm going to get to it in a second because it's not as timely now as it will be in a few minutes, but I will put it up there and we'll talk about that. Yeah, like I agree. Like I don't know, man. Like what you're talking about is because even if it's a good show, and I think what AEW does best, you know, and pardon the pun, where the best wrestle, like they have really good wrestling matches, and they have the ability at any time they want to put on a show with great wrestling matches. And but the problem is the audience for that is limited, and we've seen it for 5 years now. So we need more. And we need like what you're talking about. And I'm not even saying they need to be like WWE.
I don't want them to be like WWE. No. I actually, when they had all the 80s guys, I wanted them to take the step back and go, okay, what made these products so hot to the people that were watching them? I don't want melodrama. I want people to feel something is what I want. I want there to be the connection. You know, I want the hate. I want the building of the rivalries. I don't want to see, you know, being the elite where everybody's friendly backstage and doing wacky comedy sketches and things like that. I'm not here to watch your theater troupe. I'm here to watch professional wrestlers and to lose myself into the fourth wall of that. This is an actual sports types league that I'm watching, you know, that I can't do type of a thing. You know, I want to see the talk smack and fake fight. That's what I want.
The last show we did together was the show before Full Gear. And you asked me which of these matches has the two people that hate each other, right? That I want to see fight. And I gave you a couple answers and you gave me the reasons why those didn't affect.
I'm sorry.
The very next nationally televised cable show that we watched was SmackDown. And
KO
it was like he watched this show.
Yes. Yes.
Because
Oh,
he
dude,
said,
I was watching that live and I jumped up on my couch and I started
yeah,
pumping my fist that
yeah.
somebody said, "I hate you." I went,
He
"Thank
said,
you. Thank you."
look what I did to Randy Orton, and I love him. I hate you. So what do you
Yes.
think I'm going to do to you? And the way he said it, you believed him. Even though I don't really believe that Kevin Owens hates, Cody Rhodes in real life. I believe the character of Kevin Owens. I should say, I don't believe Kevin Steen hates Cody Reynolds.
No.
But I do believe that Kevin Owens hates Cody Rhodes.
Yes. And it made me 10 times more interested in Saturday night's main event.
And at that point, we didn't even know when the match was happening. But it's like, I can't wait to see it. When is it?
Yes,
like, if it's close to me, I'll buy it.
Three sizes that day. This old wrestling Grinch. Because somebody said they hated each other.
And then we saw the same thing on Monday with Seth Rollins and CM Punk. And then with Punk and
even Punk and Drew. I mean, when Punk and Drew were going at each other, I prayed for
Rollins,
this to happen. Oh,
yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, it's cute internet meme. Yeah, you can still do that. Like you can have your fun on the internet, but when it gets onto TV, we want it to be serious.
Yes.
Yeah.
So instead I'm getting John Moxley must have put these men under some kind of spell.
Oh my God. And Wheeler just getting beat up every week, and then the dumb baby faces come out to save him, and then he turns on them every freaking week. Okay, so last week we didn't have a show, and I had said at the time, we got another super chat from DJ, so I'll put those both together. So I had told myself, okay, I hadn't watched Full Gear. I was way behind on my wrestling. We had a show that we were scheduled to do last week, but then you were traveling. And then basically the thing was, am I going to find a co-host to do it? And I've gotten Brian Zaleem the last couple of years, and I could have done that again probably. But then Garrett gave us the option of taking the week off. And I was like, okay, well, if I take the week off, I can watch Full Gear. I don't have to feel pressure to try and watch it by Wednesday. And then I don't have to watch Dynamite live on Wednesday. So that's what I did. I ended up watching Full Gear on Thursday. And then I watched Dynamite almost immediately after. So I watched Full Gear and Dynamite back to back. I thought the wrestling was pretty good. I thought the actual show itself made no sense. I had no idea what was going on at the end. But it was over. It's the first time in history that I regretted buying a pay-per-view from AEW. The first time in history. John here made a comment. This is the first pay-per-view from AEW that he did not buy. What does that tell you? Well, I almost didn't buy it, but I decided I was going to buy it at the last minute, and I did buy it. I overall didn't enjoy the experience. It was a good show, but I didn't like it, if that makes sense.
There were some high points to it. I mean, like
there was
the Mercedes match, and the Mercedes match was great too, I thought.
Mercedes match was great. The Osprey match was great. I really liked Ricochet and Takeshita. I heard some people didn't like it. I liked it a lot.
It was okay. I didn't like the end. The end angle left me sour because I'm like, what is Hangman Page doing in any of this right now?
And Christian, and then Darby running them over with a cart. Like, what the hell?
Yes, that was my exact statement. Was what the hell?
Yeah,
and then I've had to deal with other people reviewing these AEW shows and shaming the crowd because it's good wrestling. Why aren't these fans excited?
Well, because you didn't give them a reason to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Stop shaming the people that are paying to watch you. It is not their fault that they are not responding.
So I watched this show, and I had been avoiding spoilers. I had been avoiding news. I literally had no idea what was going on in AEW. I stayed off the Discord because I didn't want to give any opinions on something I hadn't watched. So then when I turned on Dynamite on Thursday, I had no idea who was in the Continental Classic. They mentioned on the pay-per-view that there was going to be Selection Sunday where they're going to announce the competitors. They didn't tell us when. They didn't tell us where. They said, stay tuned to AEW social media. I don't know what that means. What are they talking about? Twitter,
Eastern.
Blue Sky?
10:30 Eastern
Okay,
on Sunday. They announced these
night?
Yes.
Okay, whatever. It doesn't matter because I didn't know. So I turned on the show on Dynamite. I had no idea who was in the Continental Classic. Not a clue. I assume Buddy Matthews was probably in it because he was in that four-way on the pre-show and he had beaten Commander, Mortos, and Dante Martin.
You would assume wrong.
I did assume wrong.
Oh, by the way, that Costco guys thing was one of the best things on that show.
Yeah, I like that. I liked it. Although, again, if I never see them again, I'll be fine with that too. I don't understand the Rizzler. I never will. Don't try to explain it to me. But AJ and Big Justice were cool. They were good. So anyway, so the tournament starts and we get Mark Briscoe and Shelton Benjamin. And I'm like, okay, I last saw Mark Briscoe losing to Chris Jericho. I last saw Shelton Benjamin losing to Swerve. Where's Swerve in this tournament? Where's Chris Jericho? Where's half the other guys that won on the pay-per-view? I looked at the lineup and I was completely let down. We had 4 stars, I would say, by AEW standards. We have Okada, Fletcher, Ospreay, and Darby.
Yes.
And then we have a bunch of mid-carders and
it's a Kansas City shuffle to get to an Ospreay Okada match and an Ospreay Fletcher match.
Yeah, exactly. With maybe a possibility of like Claudio sneaking in there or something like that. But I think more along the lines, I think we had that Claudio squash of Darby, the last show we reviewed, to basically get you to the point where they're going to wrestle again and you're going to assume it's going to be the same and Darby's going to pull out a win at the end and eliminate Claudio from the tournament. That's probably what's going to happen, would be my guess. So
the 4th most important singles title in
yeah, that's it, right? And they're pushing this as the G1. Although now I'm being told, no, it's not the G1. Anybody that thought it was the G1, you're kidding yourself. They told me it was the G1. They said Masahiro Chono's won 5 tournaments, and now Okada can tie him if he wins the G1. It's like, is it the G1 or is it the WWE's Intercontinental Women's Tournament? It's closer to that than it is to the G1.
Because the G1 involves the big belt.
That, and not only that, all the top women, except for the world champions, are in that tournament.
Yes.
Even though the tournament sucks. And I'm not a WWE, I'm not a Fed head. Like, I'm not going to tell you the tournament was great when it's not. That tournament sucks. Like, it just does. Like, whatever. They got a bunch of 3 ways to get into the singles matches. Like, it's stupid. But
now hold on. Is it dumber to have 3 ways to get into a singles to get into the finals, or is it dumber to have a battle royal down
we'll get
to 2 to get into another match?
We'll get to that because that was confusing as hell. So last week I watched the show and I was immediately set back by just the field for the tournament. And then I watched the show and the matches they put on were fine, but they weren't great. They weren't as good as last year's from what I remember. And I didn't care. Like, we had Ricochet and Claudio, and I heard people say, that's a big match. Why don't people care about it? Like, what are you talking about? It's a big match. It's Ricochet, who's been a mid-carder forever in WWE, comes over here and he's a mid-carder here.
Claudio is SmackDown match from 4 years ago.
Yes, exactly. Claudio is, like, he's pushed well, but he's the second fiddle in his own group. And then the other match was Darby and Brody, which we've seen a bunch of times already. Yes. And it was the same match that we've seen every time. Darby got his ass kicked again. Yeah, because that's what happens with Darby. So that was it. That was the match. And then, I can't remember what else was on the show. So I didn't really like the show last week. And the crowd sucked as well. As DJ put here on his
I will not have you
shame
this crowd.
Well, the last few weeks, the crowds have been quite to having fun with ball chants. Look at the television that's been presented. That's why. Yes, DJ nailed it. I said this last week. People are shaming the crowds. Shame the company that's putting these matches out there, these shows out there. But they're reacting to
their argument is they're getting good wrestling. This crowd should be reacting. And I'm here to tell you, they want the wrestling that matters. They want the angles that matter. They don't want just wrestling necessarily.
You want to care about the people in the ring. And they've given us no reason to care. That's the problem.
Why do these people want to be in this tournament? That's all I want to know.
We know why Okada wants to be in there, because he wants to be he wants to have the 5th thing. Fletcher, I think, wants to win the tournament so he can prove that he's better than Ospreay. I think that's it. I think those are the only 2 guys that have really got any motivation for this tournament.
Okay.
I believe. And that's it. That's all they told us. Not only that, okay, so I watched the show last week. They mentioned that there were going to be matches on Collision, but they didn't tell us what they were going to be. So I had no idea what matches were on Collision. Apparently, Kazuchika Okada and Will Ospreay had matches on the weekend. Now, anybody with a functioning brain cell could tell you nobody was going to watch those shows. They put them at 4:00 in the afternoon on the East, 1:00 where you are. And what happened? Did you see the ratings?
I heard about the ratings.
143,000 people and a 0.03 in 18 to 49. That was the good rating. Rampage, which was an all lucha show. Remember a couple weeks back they announced that all the CNL guys were going to be on a show. Well, they taped it and they aired it opposite the first hour of Survivor Series, and 126,000 people watched it. 0.03.
And they're going to lose this week to championship weekend in terms of the conference championships.
No doubt. And guess what? Okada's wrestling on Rampage and Collision.
He's on Rampage too?
Yes.
Who's he fighting on Rampage? I missed that.
Thank you. Where is it here? He's wrestling Mark Briscoe.
Okay.
So, yeah. I made the point because
hold on, is that a tournament match or is that just okay? I thought it might just be a blue versus gold special match. So, I was like, you guys haven't built up the leagues.
I can tell you, I do not have the slightest idea who's in which league, because every time they put those things up, they're gone before I can write anything down.
I had to Google why Commander was in this because I thought it was Juice Robinson, and I didn't pay attention to the social media that he was hurt. Okay.
Commander subbed in for Juice, and I guess we're not going to get that Commander Osprey match that everybody wants to see. But I guarantee you, Tony Khan on a Thursday night is going to put up a tweet, and he's going to tell us that Saturday on Collision we're going to get that tournament match we never thought we were going to see with Commander and Will Ospreay, because Will Ospreay already wrestled Juice, so that counts for Commander's points. But he is 100% going to give us that match at some point. Yeah, probably on the go home show for the pay-per-view. DJ had another super chat. He said, "What's up, my friends? It's funny. Think tonight's show was good, not great. Brand slip time, I think not. I'm going to agree and disagree. I thought tonight's show was good, better than recent weeks. Not perfect. There's a couple things I would have changed, but I enjoyed the show. I do think they need a brand split, but they should probably wait and see if they get a new show. If they get a show on Fox, they 100% need a brand split.
I can't with this.
Why?
It's an ultimately deep roster of people nobody cares about.
Okay.
So you're going to get two rosters full of guys.
Will it not be easier to book shows that people care about if you're
maybe, you know what?
On a smaller group?
I will grant you this. If they separate the worlds, get two different teams working on those shows, and get some creative freedom, you could have something. But I also said that when Raw and SmackDown would always split rosters, and it never turned out because Vince McMahon just wanted to have his hands in both until he didn't want to care about the B show in there anyways and said, do whatever you want there. And then those shows would always become great.
Now they're doing it kind of the right way. I mean, you do have people going back and forth between shows, but for the most part, 90% of your roster is dedicated to one show or the other.
Yes. No, so it's fine. It's perfectly fine right now. Both shows are kind of compelling. I actually find SmackDown more compelling than Raw most weeks, but Raw was great this week. So
if you took like the top 10 guys in AEW, let's say it's like Will Ospreay, Okada, Hangman, Kyle Fletcher, Takeshita, whoever they're going to be, 5 of them are on Dynamite every week. 5 of them are on Collision every week, or the new show. I won't say Collision. Collision's dead. Collision is a dead show. I don't care what anybody tells me. It's a dead show. Nobody's going to watch it.
It needs a rebranding, and it needs to not be at that time.
Right. I was told this week, because I said, why would you waste an Okada and Ospreay match on Collision when you know nobody's going to watch it? And I was told, oh, you said that you need to make those shows important. I never said that. Find me a clip where I said you need to make Collision important, because I never did.
I think I might have said it one time.
You may have, but they were talking to me. And I would never say that, because nobody's going to watch that show. And if you make it important, you're just pissing
But it is
off.
a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you don't put important things on there, nobody's going to watch, but nobody's going to watch because there aren't important things on it.
Joseph agrees with you. Tony can't even book the show he's on. How's he going to book a brand split?
I agree. It's one of those things. He's a control guy, and it's one of those things where you need to give up the control, be a show runner as opposed to the showrunner and executive producer and the entire staff. I mean, but again, I've heard they have like 20-something creative people in the back there. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, do a hard split, 14 on each. Put the guy you trust most in charge of that. He'll give you the ideas. You give up or down, but no creative input on it. I'd be fine with that.
Cyclops had a good point here. Promos and stories are remembered more than matches.
Yes.
People remember Hulk and Savage handshake more than their matches. Absolutely.
It's the William Regal thing where and I bring this up a lot on that party of three or table for three where he goes, my proudest moment was when I did that cross-dressing thing, because people will remember that. They won't remember any of my great matches.
Yeah.
I went, and I don't go that far, but I do think. See, I think it's a generational split. The people who really love these types of shows and are still watching and are the quote unquote sickos grew up on compilation tapes, and those compilation tapes had matches. Yeah. Whereas I feel compilation tapes should have all the angles that then lead up to the match and all the promos, and then you'd be far more like Chris and I did Magnum Tully, and I had the luxury of knowing where all the promos and all the angles were leading up to it. And it's a far more, not that Tully Magnum isn't a great match. It is a great match, but you're missing something if you don't watch the entire, build and how we got here, and, Magnum kissing Baby Doll and Tully hitting him with a roll of quarters and dressing him, and Magnum dressing him as a cop and arresting him. I mean, all those little things that lead up to the fact that now I'm going to watch somebody get their ass beat. Cool. That kind of a thing. And to me, that's what the weekly television is for. The weekly television is not for a super indie style show. I want one television main event that stands out, and then I can say, hey, I was there the night this. But that's why squash matches were so important here. It's like it would get guys over as not being beatable, and then you'd have your TV main event that fans go home happy because they saw a good work rate match.
One of my favorite things and the most memorable thing to me from last week's Dynamite was the backstage segment with Max Caster and Swerve Strickland.
Okay.
Because Max is running his mouth, Swerve shows up and punks him out, and you basically knew they're going to wrestle, and if there's a God in heaven, we're going to get the match we got this week. And there is, and we got it.
I agree.
And that was the worst match on the show, but it was also my favorite thing on the show. If you want to give star ratings, it was the worst match on the show. If you want to say, what did I remember? What was good? That match with Max Caster and Swerve this week, it was perfect. It was exactly what it needed to be.
It was all we wanted. And we just wanted to watch this guy mouth off and get his butt kicked.
Which is exactly what happened. Yeah. So, all right, let's get into this show because we've been talking for almost half an hour now. And although this show was a lot of wrestling. As I mentioned earlier, it was a good show. There you go. We had attendance was 2,935. So they're getting up there a little bit. They're in Fisher IN, which I didn't even know what that stood for. I didn't know if it was like Indiana, like in I guess
they were calling it Indianapolis.
Yeah, I guess it had to be Indiana. I don't know.
It's the Vince McMahon move of calling it the largest city near where you are.
Yeah, because it was I assume a smaller building. It was a livelier crowd than it's been lately, and again, maybe because they got a better show. I don't know. They opened with a recap video for the tournament. Thank God they talked about the matches for tonight.
This is
great. It was awesome. It was a minute. It was didn't take away from anything. It added to the enjoyment of the show. And then I heard complaints. Oh, they're dumbing it down like WWE.
Oh, F off. Whoever said that.
Exactly. Well, you know who it was.
No, I don't.
Yes, take a guess. It's one of three, and
I know it's one of three, but I can pick anyone. They're dumbing it down. No, you're supposed to do that.
Yes,
you're supposed to recap stuff so that
because people may have missed the weekend shows. In fact, we know they did because we saw the ratings. So, at least
we really calling that dumbing it down?
We are. Because I still don't know.
Do they think highlight packages of the NFL game are dumbing down football?
Apparently they do. Oh yeah, and that's another one, right? Like, there was an hour and a half of downtime on the 4.5-hour Survivor Series show. How much downtime is there in a 3-hour NFL game that takes 60 minutes? and that doesn't seem to be hurting their ratings. So I don't know. Anyways, we open with Shelton Benjamin again because it did so well last week. The show opened last week with 750,000 viewers, and Shelton Benjamin and Mark Briscoe hit the ring, and immediately 25% of the audience turned off the TV. So, hey, let's try that again. Shelton Benjamin and Kyle Fletcher. Excalibur talked about the tag league experience that Kyle Fletcher has had in Japan, brought up the fact that tag league's going on right now. I've been watching it, as a matter of fact. We got some light Fletcher sucks chants. Matt Menard was on commentary for the night. No Nigel. The Excalibur mentioned Shelton has 9 round robin tournaments on his resume, so that's cool. Shelton was clearly a crowd favorite. I saw people wondering how this was going to be heel versus heel, and it's like, are you even watching the show? Like, Shelton is like cheered like he's a babyface, so that's exactly what happened here. They were totally behind Shelton, and Fletcher is a great heel because he works the crowd. Callis was on commentary. At one point, Kyle Fletcher took a powder, and the fans were chanting Osprey's better. I thought, oh, you know what? This crowd is actually into this product, so I like that. They went through the break. They came back. The crowd was into it, so that's usually the sign of a good match. Tony Schiavone points out how important this is in whatever league they're in. I have no idea. It's gold or blue, but I don't know which one. But he said the winner is going to have 6 points and be at top of their league. And then Schiavone points out, well, unless it's a draw, then they'll both have 4. So, hey, good job, Tony. They were teasing a count out, and this infuriated me. I don't know if you noticed it, but so Fletcher's on the outside. The ref gets to 8. And then Shelton leaves the ring behind the ref's back. So the ref keeps counting. He gets to 9. Kyle's like just standing there. He's not even trying to get back into the ring. And then Shelton ends up running and hitting him, and then the ref just stops counting. I came to the conclusion, Kyle Fletcher, they mentioned his Japan experience. I bet you Kyle thought it was a 20 count. Because
I think they're trying to do the convoluted thing where I'm counting out one guy, and if the other guy attacks that guy by leaving the ring, then the count needs to start over for both guys.
Then why didn't Shelton just stay in the ring?
I don't know.
Okay. So that's what I'm saying. Like it just made no sense. And the crowd, they didn't react to this because I think they were as confused as I was. But anyways, they got back in. Fletcher hit a Michinoku driver. Shelton hit a roundhouse. They did a bunch of great stuff. Shelton had this like cool. It was like a combination Boston Crab and Indian Deathlock. It was like real cool. Kyle made the ropes, and the crowd booed. And Callis said, "Why are they booing? That was a smart move." I love that. And then Kyle hit a couple super kicks, hit an elbow drop. Shelton just fired the crowd up with a bunch of German suplexes. Hits a jumping knee. Kyle rolled out of the ring. Then he comes back in the ring, rolls Shelton up, puts his foot on the ropes behind the ref's back, and got the pin. And I like the finish, I got to say. Like, I'm sure some people didn't, but I did. I thought it was great. He won as a heel. Good job, Kyle. I like this match.
I liked this match. It was one of the matches I was actually looking forward to because I think Shelton Benjamin's fantastic. You know what? They announced this match last week, correct?
No.
Damn it. They should have planned.
I don't think so.
I'll tell you what would have made this match for me, for my watching enjoyment, 5 times as better. Is just 30 seconds of MVP and Don Callis hyping the match before it happens, talking about why their guy's going to win this tournament and why the other guy's going to get beat on that night.
Why do you have MVP on commentary?
Because those two are the best talkers in AEW right now, in my opinion. And that's all I want, man. I just want that foreplay, man. That's what I want. I want them to be able to tell me that these two guys are hyped for this fight.
Yeah. They did kind of do that in the video package at the beginning, but
the video package was fine. Don't get me wrong, but it's not, hey, split screen.
Yeah.
Excalibur or Tony talking to both of them, and MVP and Don Callis mouthing off to each other as heel managers.
Hey, even the inset promo thing, they could have done that during part of the match.
But I want those two as the two big bad heel managers to be the two big bad dogs on the block and make me want to see their stables fight each other. That's the thing that gets. I mean, they did this in WWE occasionally with like Heenan or Slick. And, you know, those types, and they do it in other companies too, where it's like, like Dylan and Cornette would go at it sometimes as who, you know, who's the bad guy on the block. That those types of things are usually rare because people want to keep the babyface heel dynamic. And so it makes it kind of special when those two like badasses talk to each other. I really wanted that. And the thing that made this match for me was the post angle with the Hurt Syndicate. So,
well, we'll get to that. I didn't really. I wasn't a fan of that, but I'll explain.
Well, it said everything I was thinking. So
okay, fair enough. So they did the standings, and I tried to write them down, but they got rid of that thing so fast. Kyle Fletcher has 6 points. Shelton's got 3. So even though he just lost, he's still in second place.
Paul, you need to make a chart.
Yeah, Okada and Garcia have 1 each, and then whoever the other 2 are in the block are have 0. I guess Mark Briscoe must be 1 because Shelton beat him last week. I have no idea who Kyle Fletcher beat because it was on Collision, and I haven't seen it yet. So we got another video package from Saturday's matches. They showed Juice Robinson, who isn't even in the tournament, I wrote down. But then they said he lost to Ospreay and he got injured, so now Commander is subbing for him. So basically, they briefly showed the thing again, and essentially, Juice's loss is on Commander's record. So
Mortos,
yes, that's the other guy. So there you go. That is one of the leagues. I don't know if it's blue or gold, but it's one of the leagues. And Okada and Garcia went to a 20-minute draw. So that's it. I guess there was only 2 matches. No, there must have been 3 because you just said Fletcher and Mortos. That must have been on Collision. So
Fletcher and Mortos, Garcia and Okada, Briscoe and
so
Benjamin.
They still haven't told us that the Fletcher Mortos match happened. Not once in any of these like promo packages or nothing. Like, so I guess if you're really paying attention to the chart they put up, you would know it. But so I'm dumb. That's the problem. Hook comes to the ring for a promo. This was a surprise. They never mentioned that he was going to be on the show. And then Matt Menard points out there's nothing like Hook in New York City, guys. Thought we were in Indianapolis. Whatever. Nick Wayne, you want to fight me in New York City in a couple weeks? I'd rather fight your father in Hammerstein and leave him in worse condition than my father was left by you guys. So why don't you come out here and fight me right now? And Christian's music hits and Hook's waiting, but he gets jumped from behind by Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian. He fights him off, puts the red rum on Nick, but Shayna distracted him, and then Christian hit him with the contract and 3-on-1 attack on Hook. And then Christian sent them outside for chairs. They did concerto onto Hook's arm. And then Christian said, you need to focus on what matters and take care of your hand. So nice little heel line. And so we're getting that match in Hammerstein, I guess.
Yes, but we need to be smarter about how we book beatdowns on baby faces. I get that they want to do the in-ring promos, but we know that he has a stable of guys with him.
Mm-hmm.
Figure out staging where it feels like a surprise that they get the drop on him. Because this was just stupid babyface.
And I was kind of waiting for someone to save him, but we didn't get anyone. I guess he's got no friends.
Well, Danhausen's not brought in anymore.
Well, wasn't Shibata his buddy?
He was too busy building his next promo on his phone.
Oh, yeah. At some point, we're probably going to get Joe show up, I would assume.
I'm here for this. Give me Joe. I want Joe now.
Although I do think everyone thinks it's going to be Chris Jericho and Mark Briscoe at Final Battle. I have a feeling it might be Joe, but we'll find out soon. We'll find out tomorrow, actually, as we'll get to. Renee Paquette, they said, was backstage with they said she was backstage, but then they go backstage and it's just Mercedes. She's walking down the hall, but she runs into Renee Paquette. So I guess Excalibur was clairvoyant. And she starts to ask a question, and then Mercedes basically just says, don't ask me anything before I get to do my catchphrase.
No, pretty much. Give me my babyface pop first, and then I'll get to you.
She literally said those words. So it was like, Indianapolis, say hello to your CEO. And Renee was doing it along with her. And she points out that Camille was attacked on Rampage, and then Mercedes said, don't speak that name again. She doesn't work for me anymore, so I'm not liable for anything that happens to her. But I am concerned about Anna Jay sticking her nose where it doesn't belong. Tonight, Anna Jay has a match against Penelope Ford. Okay, good promotion there, Mercedes. And I'll be watching very closely because there's always a price to pay when you mess with money. There's always a price to pay when you mess with money. I think did I pronounce that right? I don't know. But anyways, good little promo segment. I liked it.
It was fine. I love that Renee basically steps on her line too. It's like, yeah, CEO, whatever. Get to your promo.
Yeah. That was good. So here we come back from break, and then we got that segment. I almost missed it because I'm like fast forwarding through the commercials, and I come back and like MVP's like just screaming. I'm like, whoa, what brought this on? So I rewound it. Basically, he just started by screaming. He's yelling at Shelton for losing.
Yes.
He says, why didn't you hurt that man? Don't play with him. I told you that's not what we do. I love you, but I'm disappointed in you, man. And Lashley just looks at him, shakes his head.
MVP was right though. Those first few minutes. Look, as enjoyable as it was Shelton playing with his food.
I wish he would have brought up. Why didn't you take the count out? You should have. But so then they walk away, and then some random stagehands walking by, and Shelton just decides to beat the hell out of them. And then Lashley joined in. A bunch of other people showed up. MVP's in on it too, and they just beat the crap out of these guys.
I thought that was RJ City at first, and I was so happy.
Well, that's the part I didn't like. I just thought it was dumb because now, shouldn't these guys be suspended or something? They're just attacking people. Yeah, but
yes, there should be consequences for beating up non-player characters.
Honestly, MVP should just. I know this is a BTE skit, but the MVPs just should just walk into Tony Khan's office and hand him $50,000. Say, here you go, and take that for the next time.
Here's a blank check. Fill it out for whatever the amount is.
Yeah, and know that it's probably going to happen again. So we get this, and this was easily the worst thing on the show. The Dynamite Dozen Battle Royal.
God.
So this Battle Royal, they set it up last week. So if you missed last week's show, you had no idea this was even happening, even though it happens every year at this time. Adam Cole was the only person to get an entrance, so that was a clue. And I started writing down the names of people in it. Mark Davis, Evil Uno, Leo Rush, Lance Archer, Kyle O'Reilly, Action Andretti, Brian Cage, Rocky Romero. So I don't know at any point, there's a few others. At any point, I'm not sure if they explained, we knew that the goal here was to get a match with MJF for the ring.
Yes.
But we didn't, they didn't really explain how that would happen.
No, because
yes.
I could have taken winner of the Battle Royal gets to take on MJF for the ring. That's fine. My thinking was, okay, MJF's not in the Battle Royal. He's not defending his ring. Somebody else is going to get the ring. Okay, right. I can go with that. No, we're going to stop the Battle Royal when there's two competitors left, so they can have a match,
and we'll
the
get
right to go after MJF. This is stupid.
Lady B, I see your super chat. We'll get to that after this match. So the match, the match itself. So I wrote down.
No, this is a public service announcement from old school Jeff. If I'm going to have a Battle Royal, it needs to be big guys, maybe even big lumbering dudes who can't work for crap, just fighting and punching each other and trying to throw them over the top rope. This flippy-do guy crap where they're doing stuff on the apron that takes you out of the point of a Battle Royal is killing Battle Royals. Make Battle Royals great again. Hawkins 2028. Thank you.
We got 3 of those guys. Mark Davis, Brian Cage, and Lance Archer.
And the Butcher.
And the Butcher. 4. Okay, 4. Yeah. 4. Okay, so Leo and Action Andretti eliminated Top Flight. Archer and Cage eliminated Mark Davis. So the crowd was actually kind of into him, and they basically just slaughtered him as a jobber because he was eliminated before the commercial. They come back from commercial. Kyle O'Reilly eliminated Action. Then he eliminated Leo. We had 6 guys left. It was basically it was the Murder Machine. It was Kyle O'Reilly and Rocky, so their teammates, and then Adam Cole and the Butcher. So Cage and Archer teamed up to throw Rocky out. Cole eliminated the Butcher. Now we're down to Cage, Archer, Kyle O'Reilly, and Cole. Cole and I think it was Cage were fighting on the thing, and Cole almost had him out, but Cage was holding onto the ropes. Menard advised him to bite Brian Cage's hands. Adam Cole did not take that advice, but eventually him and Kyle O'Reilly, at the same time eliminated Cage and Archer. And I wrote down, okay, now it's down to the 2 of them. So I'm thinking, okay, it's down to the 2 of them. They're going to, whoever wins gets MJF. That's what I thought. Okay, it's just us 2 now. But no, the bell rings. And I'm like, oh, okay. And the crowd didn't react at all because I don't think they had any idea that the match was over. And then I'm like, okay, they're going to have a singles match. And then, just a regular match. Because I've seen that. I've seen Battle Royals that end in a singles match. And then at the end of the match, the winner gets whatever the next prize is. Nope. They just, they look at each other. Apparently, Cole doesn't want to fight Kyle O'Reilly, even though I didn't really get that sense. But that's what they told us. And they're going to wrestle next week at Winter is Coming. And the winner's going to get MJF at World's End. So, newsflash, MJF got another month off. He taped a month's worth of vignettes that's going to air over the next 4 weeks. And the next time we see him live will be at the pay-per-view. Great job if you can get it. This was the crowd didn't understand what was going on. I didn't understand what was going on. They never once told us what was going on, and we got what we got. It was terrible.
Did they do this the other years after
No.
MJF?
No, the other years they had, it was the winner of the Battle Royal. The first couple years, it was MJF just won the Battle Royal.
Right.
Then when he was champion, it was Ricky Starks won, and then Ricky Starks got a match for the ring, but not for the belt. And everyone thought, well, he'll win the ring and then he'll lose the title match. Well, no, he lost the ring and then he lost the title match. That was last year, I think. Maybe that was 2 years ago. And no, because last year he was injured, I think, right? Or no, he won it last year somehow too. But you know what else I just thought of? He doesn't even have the ring. Well, I guess he did in that promo. He gave the ring to Callis. When did he get it back? I thought that was going to play into this somehow. Do you remember? He gave that ring to Callis.
Gave the ring and a packet of money.
Yeah. And the thing was, if you take care of him, you get to keep the ring. Well, he took care of him. So, I don't know.
He has a knockoff ring business.
Yeah, no doubt. Because, didn't Garcia pawn one of his rings?
Yes.
So, yeah, this was dumb. Okay, Lady B.
It's like the Maltese Falcons. There are many of them.
I've always told people this. If you want to send us money, we'll stop what we're doing. We'll take your money and answer your question.
Yes.
So Lady B, who I love, she was in the Discord with me. Lady B knows, even though I've said this show was great.
Defending you at least.
Lady B can confirm. I'm hate watching AEW, even though I put over this show. This is our friend Larry told me I'm hate watching.
Okay.
With brand splits combos, she must have tuned in late because we kind of talked about this already, but I will answer this question anyways. With brand split combos happening around AEW right now, if you had to choose 8 core acts, wrestlers, at least 2 women, to build Dynamite Collision around, who would make your list? Do you want to tackle this, or while I write down some names?
Well,
we can kind of go through.
My general question is, okay, are we considering Dynamite the Tiffany show, and are there any people off limits? I have to be creative about this somehow.
Well, I would think the world champion would bounce.
Because if I'm building the best show, I can pick 8 great people, great acts, and build you a league. Definitely. If I'm building a Collision show, I actually think they've done a pretty good job of the acts that they were picking. It's just, it's on a crappy night for the most part. I think FTR is the right call to get some tag team wrestling over there. I thought Thunder Rosa was a strong call to get somebody over there, kind of a thing. And if I had my druthers, I'm building my women's division around Mercedes because she is, for the most part, I'll vamp here, but if I had to pick any 8 acts, it would probably be like FTR, Mercedes. I think I'd take Britt as well because she's over. You take, for me, Takeshita, Kyle Fletcher, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks. What is that? 7? Something like that. It doesn't matter who else I take because it'll be great.
Okay. I've got some names here. I got one show. This would be Dynamite.
Okay.
I've got Kenny Omega.
Moxley. I take Moxley too.
Well, Moxley would be both shows because he's the world champ.
Yeah.
So his whole crew would be on both shows.
Okay.
Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, Hangman, Jay White, Darby Allin, FTR, and then my women are Mariah and Tony. That's Dynamite. For Collision,
you wouldn't take Mercedes over Tony.
Hang on, I said now for Collision because I want people to watch Collision.
Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, never mind. You're correct. I withdraw my scorn, Your Honor.
Collision is the wrestling show. So on Collision, I've got Will Ospreay, Kyle Fletcher, Takeshita, Ricochet, House of Black, Mercedes, and Britt Baker. That's who I build my rosters around, and then you can take the rest of them, and you've got your Garcias and your Jerichos and everyone else, on one of those shows. Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole, whatever. Put them wherever they fit.
The person to say that the wrestling's not the problem in AEW.
No, it's not. But
wrestling's fine, but it's everything that supports the wrestling that's bad.
Okay, yeah, but they want to give us a reason to care, and at least if you have it this way. Okay, if you're a fan of Kyle O'Reilly or of Kyle Fletcher, nobody's a fan of Kyle O'Reilly. If you're a fan of Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay and Takeshita, you've got to watch Collision. If you like the Bucks and Omega and Hangman and Darby, you've got to watch Dynamite. That's it. Like, and if you want to follow everything that's going on with the world title, we got to watch both shows.
Yeah, the secret is to not make the B show feel like the B show.
Correct. But also to keep it separate from the A show.
Keep it completely separate. Maybe I wouldn't do the 2 title thing, but I might do one show around the world title and one show around maybe the TNT title.
Well, you would have your TNT and your international on one on each show.
And I would try and figure out how to make those special and different.
You could have the tag team titles jump around too, and the women's title, you've already got one for each show, so that works. That works already. All right, I like that question, Lady B. We got it. Speaking of the women, and I didn't even mention either of these two, but I'll fit them in somewhere. Video package for Jamie Hayter. I wrote down Sky Blue, but it's actually Julia Hart. But they never actually told us it was Julia Hart, so I can be forgiven for that. But it was just another video. It was completely different from the other ones. This was slightly more coherent, but the message here was it's her turn to come back. She said, "Watch your back because the house always wins." So that was that. So
tell you something I enjoyed from last week. That Jamie Hayter Queen Aminata match where they gave Aminata her chops back, and those two just beat the crap out of each other. I know people said it was rough, but I don't care.
It was rough in a good way.
It was it was a struggle. I liked it.
I think Aminata knocked her out at one point. Like legit.
I think you're correct.
Yeah, but she recovered. All right, we got Caster, Anthony Bowens, and Billy Gunn backstage with Renee. Billy says everything's not right. We've been trying to talk Caster out of fighting Swerve, but what we build hasn't been done by one person. He says, and I quote, "Yes, you are the best wrestler alive, but you're going about this all wrong." And then Caster says, "No. And then Billy says, "Bowens, you talk some sense into him." And then Bowens says, "You call yourself the best wrestler alive. Go out and prove it." And then Caster thanks Bowens for his support. He puts his hands in the middle and he says, "Okay, hands all in on 3. Best wrestler alive." And nobody puts their hands in, and he walks away. So he's completely delusional. He's about to go in and get his ass kicked. And
I'm fine with that. The thing that made me
totally fine with that.
The thing that made me angry was this was a promo in reverse, where Caster's doing all the things he should have been doing after those two had said the things that they said, but instead, because he's hyping himself up.
Yeah.
He's like, Caster, best in the world, best in the world. And that thing should be after they've tried to talk him into it without Renee there. Kind of a thing. It felt so weird. It's like Bowens would have already said this stuff before Renee ever got there.
Bowens is trying to talk him up, and Billy is trying to talk him out of it. So they weren't even on the same page.
And Bowens is now back to throwing looks whenever he says best wrestler in the world. Where you think Bowens would? I mean, it's one of those things where it's like a little inconsistency isn't helping here as well. But it's like one of those things where it's like Billy and Bowens should have said all those lines before Caster's going into his "you're the best in the world, you're the best in the world" type of a thing, and then that would have made the promo make sense. As it was, didn't make much sense, to be honest with you. But okay, fine, I'm here for it.
But it led to what we got, which was Swerve and Caster. So Caster did a promo on the way to the ring. He said Swerve is stealing money like Hunter Biden, and that Swerve got his house burned down, and he'll move into his new house and be his new daddy. And Swerve didn't like that, so he attacked him before the bell. Swerve just kicked the shit out of him and pinned him, and then beat him up after the match as well with the Swerve stomp. And that was that. So, and then he did a promo into the camera, but basically just saying, "Lashley, this isn't over. So we're going to get that match again." And this was, heading to that. And I guess the backstory here was that Caster is still considering the offer from MVP, which I'm assuming MVP is pulling after this match.
I don't know. Shelton lost too. So, I mean, it might just be
not like this.
Yeah, that's true.
I think Caster's going to go to MVP. Yeah, I'll sign up, and MVP's going to look at him. No.
We're going to get a Max Caster redemption story.
Yeah. So here's where we got the MJF tape promo. He basically didn't say anything. He's got to beat Matt. He said that Adam Cole has to beat Kyle O'Reilly, get a shot at him. And then this is when I figured out that Max is missing another pay-per-view cycle. He blamed Adam for Mox running amok over everyone. The fans laughed. You could hear them in the background. He said he's sick of Cole pretending to be the villain. And then he called him, and I quote, a jaundice-infected villain. So he's playing up the fact that
he's listening to me, baby. I'm taking credit.
I think he does listen to the show. people listening may not believe me. I've gotten DMs from Max, so I'll just leave it at that.
I again punched my fist in the air when he said jaundiced. I went,
yeah, jaundice.
I'm having an effect.
Villain.
I am having an effect on these. I was too busy looking at his hair.
Oh, his hair is.
His hair is.
I don't
ratchet,
know.
man.
Yeah. He says, I know you can't beat Kyle O'Reilly. It's going to be proven next week on Dynamite. And for that, you can thank me later. And I almost got the sense we might actually see him next week. And he might cost Adam Cole that match.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So that was the other thing.
Max is retaining this ring. That's.
Oh, yeah. that is the one thing that baffled me, because last week we saw a segment with Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. It was terrible, just like all these segments are. And
but boy, the MJF promo felt good though. I kind of liked it, bro. I did.
Well, yeah, you just like because he took your line.
No, but it felt like old MJF again, as opposed to wacky try and troll the crowd MJF.
I mean, he's going to be like Hulk Hogan and claim that when the NFL season is over and AEW's ratings go up, that's because of him.
But what he said makes sense. He goes, wait, you're going to turn on me for no reason?
Yeah, he did say that. Yeah. And it's, because I was going to turn on you first. Oh, well, that's a news flash. So, yeah. So then Excalibur first mentions that we're going to get a first ever matchup between PAC and Jay White. And then he says we're going to go to a video package looking at their intense rivalry. And I was like, okay, those two things don't add up. And then the recap, the video package was just a recap of what happened last week, post match in one of the matches they
put on the promo picture, and I was like, what belt does PAC own?
He's got the trios belt.
And he's 1/3 of the AEW trios.
Yeah,
which I had completely forgotten about.
You would forget because they never tell us, and they never defend the belts.
Yes.
Yeah. So we just had a pay-per-view. They didn't defend the
Western
belts there.
States Heritage Trios title.
Yeah. There you go. So first time ever matchup. They keep saying. I wrote down, why aren't these two in the C2? I guarantee you, 1/3 of the crowd probably thought they were watching a Continental Classic match.
I thought about it for a second.
Yeah. The crowd was deathly quiet. And then at some point I noticed PAC's chest was beet red from chops. They went through a break. Crowd was into it after. Excalibur points out that Jay White has designs on John Moxley's World Championship. I'm like, shouldn't everyone? Wheeler was the only Death Rider at ringside. White hit him with a Blade Runner. PAC jumped on his back with the brutalizer. Somehow Jay was bleeding from his mouth. I don't know how that happened.
I think we're going big into the blood capsule era.
A little bit, yeah. Because last week it was Jericho and then the week before that it was I forgot, but somebody else did that. Darby
too. Oh no, Mina Shirakawa.
Oh yeah, you're right. So Jay was real good at getting the crowd behind him. He made the ropes on the brutalizer. PAC wouldn't release the hold, but the ref broke it. Then Wheeler pulled him out of the ring and hit a Busaka knee while the ref was arguing with PAC. And I thought, maybe PAC's going to steal the win. Then Jay White just goes in the ring, hits a Blade Runner, and got the win. So it was kind of a weird finish because Jay White just got beat up outside the ring, and then he just walked in the ring like nothing happened and got the pin 10 seconds later. So I don't even know why they bothered doing the thing outside the ring. But
that feels like a Jay White match.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was good. I gave it 4 stars, but I mean, it was also nothing I'm going to remember tomorrow.
I find Jay White the most vanilla babyface. I don't. He's there, man. Yeah. He's there, and he's cromulent, and he's wrestling.
He's going to be one of the 3 guys challenging John Moxley for the world title at Full Gear, apparently.
And then we had this post match, which was ridiculous.
I can't believe they're doing a 4-way with Jay White, the guy that Jay White beat the last 2 pay-per-views, and a guy who has a guaranteed title shot anytime.
No. I think they've replaced him now. I think they've replaced Christian because they're going to do something with him during this match, possibly to make it a 5-way.
Orange Cassidy?
I think it's Orange Cassidy.
Who also got beat.
This is how we got to this editorial decision tonight with the angle afterwards, which makes no damn sense.
The angle was White was confronted by Marina after the match. So she just showed up, and Matt Menard screams out, "Just give it to her, Jay!" And Mox attacks him from behind, lays into White with ground and pound, tells White, don't even think about going after my title.
Jay White, who was romantically put to sleep in Marina's
with the
bosom
mother's
last
milk.
week. Yes.
Yeah. Picked him up, dropped him with paradigm shift. He starts to leave with Marina and left PAC and Wheeler in the ring. So out comes Hangman, and he's limping to the ring. Fans are chanting cowboy shit, so I guess he's a babyface again.
Hold on, because now I have to make this statement, and it's been something that I've been hammering home the past few weeks on this show and on my other show. Was his heel music, by the way. I said I stood at the top of a mountain waving a flag. There is no redemption story for Hangman Page in this Jay White feud. It's a redemption story for Hangman Page.
Yeah. He comes out. He confronts Mox. Mox is about to get into it with him, but he got attacked from behind by a hooded figure. I got to admit, I had no idea who it was. Then he took off the hood, and it was Orange Cassidy, so he's fine now again. But Marina attacked him. Mox and Hangman started brawling. PAC and Wheeler saved him. Orange Cassidy dumped Marina into the crowd. Then he hit Wheeler and PAC with Superman punches, confronted Mox. Fans are chanting freshly squeezed, so they don't care that he just lost. They're 100% behind him again. Jay White hit Mox with a Blade Runner, and then he and Orange had a stare down. Hangman hit the buckshot, still selling his knee. Fans are chanting AEW, so it's like they're starting to get really fired up. And then all of a sudden, you see Christian off in the background with a contract. I noticed him before Excalibur did. And then the crowd, like they just all of a sudden, like they were all fired up when Hangman did his buckshot. And then they just stayed there too long. And eventually the crowd just didn't care.
Because you were wondering why Jay White wasn't putting the boots to him.
Yeah. And then why is Christian there? And what's Moxley doing? Where's Marina? Like there was so much going on that the crowd was just confused by the end of this.
Yes.
Yeah. And they just didn't react. It was
the heel face dynamics are all kind of screwy because Hangman's standing there in the middle of Orange Cassidy and Jay White all celebrating that he buckshot lariated Moxley.
The last we heard about Orange, I thought he might be out like 6 months. He they dumped some fluid down his throat. They said he was having surgery because of internal damage due to this whatever it was that they poured down his throat. Like they tried to kill him after they beat him at the pay-per-view. Yeah.
Miracle of modern medicine.
He's fine. So then I thought they were cutting to commercial. But it wasn't a commercial, even though I thought it looked like it might have been a truck commercial, but it was a video package of the Death Riders driving in a desert. And what? Like they were just in the what is going on? But it was just a promo for Full
Gear. I needed some Bob Seger music.
Yeah. It was I wrote down Full Gear. It's a commercial for World's End. So
yes, it is.
It's just weird placement because we just saw that segment.
I concur.
They came back and it was Jamie Hayter promo. She says, "I can't figure you out, Julia." This is when I figured out that it was Julia in that previous video, not Sky Blue. That's how much I pay attention. You like to play these mind games, don't you? Doesn't work for me. I'm more of a fist-to-face type of gal. What's this all about? My return at Wembley? Everyone's pissed off about that, including you. I don't know how many times I have to say this. I came back to settle scores, and they have nothing to do with you. I was on the cusp of something great. It sucks to have it ripped away from you. Then she says, this International Women's Cup means a lot to me, and I'm ready to take it. I'm like, what is she talking about? What? Like, this has not been mentioned once on the show. I know, I think it might have been mentioned last week. But if you didn't watch last week, and a lot of people didn't, you have no idea what she's talking about. And then she just moved.
It's a tournament to get into a tournament.
Well, it's a tournament to get into a 4-way.
Okay.
Yeah, and the winner of that gets a title shot at any belt in Stardom, ROH, CMLL, or AEW.
Oh, tournament should just be for titles.
I know. Well, no, they get a cup. But anyways, she says, how about this? I come find you, and on your comeback, you'll be laid out flat on the mat, and the last thing you'll see is me. So other than the sequitur about the International Women's Cup, I thought everything else about this was great.
She's right, but it's still one of those days where this is malpractice because Jamie Hayter was hot as hell when she was brought back at Wembley. No, and then she's kind of been relegated to this dumbass story because we didn't have room for her in the Tony Storm story, and we didn't have room for her in the Mercedes story.
She's just killing time till they figure out which belt they want to give
They're
her.
treading water until they figure out what to do with her.
Yeah.
And they don't want to bury Willow necessarily by having Jamie beat her. So they're stuck in something.
Although Willow is in this tournament.
She is in this tournament. And it's one of those things. By the way,
she didn't even mention who she's wrestling. Do you know who she's wrestling?
She is wrestling. No, it's not Emmy Sakura.
I think it's Penelope.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think we've also made a sequitur away from that dynamic Britt Baker Serena Deeb feud that we had building 2 weeks ago that we've never heard about again. But
she's wrestling Serena. She's wrestling Serena. Yeah, we both realized at the same time.
I guess everybody agreed that it just doesn't matter. That
you forgot New Japan, Paul. No, I didn't. New Japan is not a part of this, even though they're the ones hosting the show. It's Stardom, not New Japan. So. Although they could wrestle for the New Japan Strong title, I think. So maybe that's what John meant. Then we got another promo, and this was hilarious. So it's Chris Jericho's New York Minute. So he's cutting a promo for the RH pay-per-view at the Hammerstein Ballroom. And then he says, while you're in Beantown, check out the 2 shows on the 21st and the 22nd. And they put up a graphic for Collision and Dynamite that they're going to be taping that weekend. And I wrote down, did I hear him wrong? Beantown? What? No, it's. And then I didn't realize he was doing a bit.
Yeah, he's doing his bit where he does the incorrect city.
But it's going to be
bad for a promo for the show.
Well, except he kept saying New York, so at least that's fine. He's just screwing up the nicknames.
You're right.
He says he's also plugging tickets for All In, which is like next July. Then he called New York Sin City. Then he says, if you want to know who my opponent is at the Hammerstein Ballroom on November 20th at Hammerstein, in New York City, check out ROH TV on Honor Club, which I believe may be the first time they've ever plugged Honor Club on AEW television. Maybe the first people even know it exists.
Since they launched it, yes.
Yeah. Then he closes by calling New York the Big Easy. So he called it Sin City, the Big Easy, Beantown, everything but the Big Apple. So
you know what I'll watch whenever I can get a chance to on YouTube, if it ever comes up on my randos, is those local promos by Tony Schiavone with the mic and the science fair backdrop in there that's either blue or orange or whatever.
Schiavone.
Sometimes there's a fence in front if there's a cage match that night.
Yeah.
We need those promos for AEW back for
Tony Khan. Remember he was doing them in Impact. Remember that?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. That was awesome.
It was the best Tony Khan ever.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he was playing Vince McMahon in Memphis in 1994. All right, we got another video package. Oh my God, this. So I'm like, I had no idea what I was watching. They're in an Old West town. There's a sheriff pounding nails. And then someone comes up to me and says, I thought you were him. And then the other guy says, he came around a while ago. Rumor is he's coming back to town. I'm like, who are they talking about? This guy says, last I saw, he was milling around. You really think he'll come around here? And the other guy says, when this outlaw returns, we're all in trouble. I'm like, the outlaw? Are they talking about like Nick Nemeth? Like, because I think he's called the last outlaw. I think, or no, that's Jeff Jarrett, right?
Yes.
Jeff Jarrett's the last outlaw. We're all in trouble. Oh no, it's here where I thought it was Nick Nemeth. He said, around these parts, he's a wanted man. Because that's Nick Nemeth's gimmick. He's the wanted man. And he says, the most wanted. And then they put up a poster. And who is on the poster that this whole video package was about? Do you remember?
Bandito. I thought you were him. Oh, you thought I was a 5'6" Mexican guy?
Okay. Let me ask you a question, Jeff. They spent, I think this is like a 2-minute video package.
Please put up Cyclops' message too.
Okay. Cyclops. Wouldn't it make more sense if the bounty hunter already signed to put out the bounty? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Jeff. Let me ask you this.
Oh.
We're probably going to get 3 or 4 more of these, right?
No.
Right. Let's just say we do.
Okay.
Okay. Even if we only get this one, what would you put the over under on the number of times we see Bandito on Dynamite in 2025? Say like 4.5.
In 2025, 4.5 is the
I'm setting the over under at 4.5. Would you say over or under?
I am taking the under on that because this is going to be a pure collision act, I think.
Okay, and what about the over under on wins on Dynamite? I'm putting it at 0.5.
No, I will go over on that. He will get like 1 or 2 over like a commander or something.
On Dynamite?
Sure.
No way. If
he'll get 1 or 2.
If
to
Bandito
get like
wrestles
some mid-card title
Commander
match
on Dynamite, I'll give you $10.
You know what? I might relent because I'm now imagining who they put him against on Dynamite. It would be like Ricochet versus Bandito.
Yes,
all right,
yes,
great.
Yeah. Like he'll beat Commander on Rampage. Like
yes.
that's a guarantee.
Question: How many? Okay, let's see. On 2020, does he make it through 2025 without getting injured?
0 chance.
I think so too. I think he gets put in like a Beast Mortos match. And
now I do like Bandito. I like Bandito a lot.
I like him.
Like, yeah, he's
I'm a Ring of Honor champion.
Yeah, he's different than everybody else. I kind of like him. He's not just your normal guy with a mask. Like he's a powerhouse and Andy does the cool moves. He's kind of like PAC with a mask on. In a way.
Are they gonna call him Bob like they call Mortos Frank?
That'll be Johnny Bandito.
Yes.
It'll be that'll be Matt Taven's name for him.
And then Johnny Bandito. He'll get a match with
Johnny
Morrison.
TV.
Yeah.
Next we got Anna Jay and Penelope Ford. So they announced this match. Mercedes had mentioned it earlier, and then like I'm fast forwarding through the entrances like I normally do, and then all of a sudden there's this video package playing, and it's like a movie trailer, and there's an announcer doing this like dramatic voice. This was like a 5-star video package for this random Dynamite match. They brought up their whole history. They talked about it. I was like, by the end of this, I'm like, this is a big match. Like, even though it wasn't, but like, I'm like, why can't they do this for
They have decided to randomly put effort into the Anna Jay push.
Why couldn't they do this for every match?
I agree.
Like, you got this tournament going on, like maybe do a video package on the tournament. Like, I don't know. But anyways, a great video package. Then they had a good match. Like I didn't see anything wrong with it. If they botched any spots.
Penelope Ford doesn't get enough credit.
She's good
for being a base.
Lock.
Her Buddha lock's good. I mean,
yeah. Although, okay, was there something off with the frame rate during this match? Did you notice anything weird? Like I did,
but I don't want to say it in mixed company. But it's
okay.
It has nothing to do with the frame rate.
Oh well, no. I just unless they did something to the frame rate.
Okay, I'll say. I thought Anna Jay had an outfit on where her top size was 1 size too small.
I wonder if the frame rate had something to do with that, and maybe they were trying to cover up something, and because it was weird. It almost looked like stop motion at points.
You think they're trying to do like the Tony thing, kind of?
No. I think they realized that and they were trying to prevent something from happening. Like I think this was like a one-time.
She kept adjusting herself all night and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, aside from that, it was a good match. Anna, of course, won. There was a move the move she won with. I don't know what it's called. I don't know if it has a name. Excalibur never called it a name. She kind of put her on her back and then dropped her. I kept wanting to call it I don't know what it's called. I don't know what the move is. Somebody
I don't even remember
it, but they didn't call it anything. So whatever. She won with it. She tried to hit it once. She didn't hit it.
It is a yet to be named move by her.
Except I think it has a name and I just forgot it. But it was a good match.
Like the Bad Attitude or something like that.
Yeah, it's something with Queen in it. I don't know because
the Queen Slayer?
Maybe. But isn't the Queen Slayer something else? Isn't that her?
I thought the Queen Slayer was her submission line.
It is. So this isn't that. It's something else. But anyways, the one and only. No, that's Ricochet. I don't know. But they pointed out that she'd won 8 of 10 matches now. So she asked for a mic. She says, "Mercedes, I know you're watching, so get out here right now." So she does. And she says, "Oh, yeah, I was watching, Anna. Let me get one thing straight. If Chris Statlander, who's the biggest, baddest woman around, can't beat me for this, then what makes you think you can? And people call me arrogant. Mariah must have kicked you a little too hard in the head. But I like your confidence. If you want a shot at the TBS championship, then maybe you need to come back in 10 years when you've done something in this business, kiddo." And then Anna says, "Like this?" And she slapped her. And then Mercedes took off her belt. And then she's about to fight. And then she looks at her watch and, "Oh, no, I got somewhere I got to go. So I don't have time for this." And Schiavone said it's a smart move. And then I guess Tony Khan was watching, and he signed them to a match at the Holiday Bash in 2 weeks in Washington, D.C. So here we go.
This is the part of the Mercedes character I loathe.
What's that?
The one that's kind of disaffected by everything and just really. I mean, she plays a great flake. Don't get me wrong, but it's one of those things where this kind of belied needed a little bit more serious tone, I think, to really get me into it. But this will be fun. What are the chances that Anna's the one to dethrone Mercedes?
0.
You think so?
Yes.
I don't.
Well, I think you're wrong.
I don't think it's going to be here. I don't think it's going to be this match. But with no, I'm thinking down the. They like to do this thing where somebody loses and then they rebuild themselves and then they finally win and then it's usually too late to. It's a little like the Dusty booking a little bit where it's like, hey, we're gonna make him lose that first title match and then we'll get back to him and then they never get back to him.
I think the person that's going to beat Mercedes is either Jamie or Britt. That's my guess.
I don't. We'll see if Britt's still employed.
Well, that's it, right? Have we seen her since she said nobody cares?
No, we haven't heard a peep from her, and that's what makes me think that.
Although, congratulations to Britt. Did you see she won $11,000 because the Steelers won 9 games? She had an over bet on 8.5 wins. And DraftKings had it put it up. They put out a tweet and she was holding a check or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Who they beat for that 9th win?
Was it your team?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. who dat?
No, that's James McDaniel's team.
I know.
We're doing better than us.
All right. So speaking of Mariah, we got Renee with a sit down with Mariah. Mariah asked her if she had any friends, and then Renee tried to walk off of the interview. And then she says, I don't owe you any explanation for how I live my life. Anything I do is the right thing as long as I hold this title. And I think giving a title shot to my best friend is generous. She wouldn't get one otherwise. Shaking your tits only gets you so far. I believe in you, Mina. When we're done, we'll sip all the champagne in the world. And while she's saying this, there's someone in the background storming into a room and you don't know who it is. It's just something you're supposed to notice, but not necessarily putting it in your mind. And then she says, Mariah says, women's wrestling is dead and I'm holding the shovel. And then Mina shows up. So I guess she was the one in the background and she had a champagne bottle and she hands it to her and she says, do it to my face. Winter is coming. And then she said, I don't know. Make me walk is what I wrote down. But then I said, maybe it's make me work. Was it make me watch? Did you catch what her last 3 lines?
No.
Okay. None of them make sense. So I don't know what she was talking about, but it was fine.
This didn't make sense. Do it to my face. All right.
The promo was good, but other than that, it was weird.
Fine. It's one of those weird things where
I like that they're promoting a match.
I am scared to death to talk about Mina's promos because
gonna get I tried to do it without doing the accent. I think
I know that's into
it. Yeah.
It's kind of dumb to walk in with a champagne bottle after she's hit you in the head once and say, now do it to my face. All right, clunk.
Well, the last time that's what she should have done.
That's what she should have done. That's what I was thinking the whole time. I was like, do it to my face. All right. Moron.
Oh, yeah. All right. And then the main event. Brody King and Claudio Castagnoli. Now, color me surprised if this dies in the ratings because I don't see how Brody King and Claudio Castagnoli are holding an audience for 2 hours.
2 big guys with badass offense that does no damage.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, I like both these guys. I like the match. The crowd was dead for this. They're woofing for Brody. Before they went to commercial with, I think 5 minutes left in the show, maybe it was less than that, they put up a little graphic in the corner of the screen, and Excalibur mentioned it. On Saturday on Collision, we're going to get Kyle Fletcher and Kazuchika Okada. And then we got to go to break. So we went to break, and it just hit me. If I was distracted looking at my phone, if I had to go to the bathroom and I missed the 10 seconds that they put this up on the screen, I missed what is probably the most anticipated match in this block. Kyle Fletcher and Kazuchika Okada. They mentioned it with 5 minutes left in the show, pitching to a break. This was where I got into the fight in the Discord because I brought this up and someone took a photo of it and tagged me and said, see, they promoted it. In case you missed it, Paul, that's not promotion. That is doing the bare minimum.
That's the least you can do, literally.
It is almost less than the least you can do.
I mean, if you really want to do it, they'd put up the schedule of all the matches before the tournament and say, here's when things are going to happen.
At the beginning, when they did their promo, during the entrances, they said, we got a big week of matches in the Continental Classic this week. On Friday, you're going to see blah, 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 blah. On Saturday, we're going to see blah, 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 blah. During the next match, during the intros. Earlier tonight, we saw, Kyle Fletcher, cheat to get a win over Shelton Benjamin. Tune in on Saturday. You're going to see Kyle Fletcher again. He's facing the Continental champion, Kazuchika Okada. This could be the biggest win of his career. Just do it. Oh my God.
He's going to cheat again, or it's going to be a time limit draw. Don't get your hopes up.
So I think it's going to be a time limit draw, and I think Okada's going to lose his belt without losing a match.
Yeah.
That's what I think is happening. And I pray to God I'm wrong, but I think that's what's happening. I think he's going to get squeezed out because you get 3 points for a win and only 1 point for a draw. So he's going to end up with maybe 3 wins and 3 draws. So he's going to
be the runner up, and he's going to take on Ospreay, and Ospreay's going to beat him.
No, he's going to be third. He's going to get 2 wins and 2 draws, which is 8 points. And you're going to have 2 guys get 9 points.
You're going to have Fletcher, but who are you going to put as the other guy?
Well, you already had Garcia draw with him. So
it's gonna be Garcia, isn't it? And they're gonna do Garcia and Ospreay and do the he did so well in losing thing.
I don't even know who's in the block, so I don't even want to speculate. And it's first in one block against second in the other.
Yes,
both of them. So it could be.
I think Garcia gets second in this block, and Ospreay probably gets first in the other block.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I think is happening. So then Okada will get a rematch because he never actually lost a match in the tournament.
Right.
And yeah, so. But anyways, so they did this, right, with seconds left or whatever. So whatever. So they come back from break. Brody is bleeding from the back of his head, they said. Crowd is kind of half-assed into this match, which is better than most crowds lately. Brody was taking most of the match, so he's probably losing, I wrote down. Then they announced, okay, this is where they announced. And this, I looked at the time, it was 9:01. So it was 1 minute after the show was supposed to be over. Typically, the overrun is the least viewed portion of the show. And this is when they told us, Friday, Daniel Garcia versus Beast Mortos, Mark Briscoe versus Kazuchika Okada, and Ricochet versus Commander. So 3 tournament matches on Rampage. That's how important this tournament is. We got 2 on Dynamite, but we're getting 3 on Rampage. Collision Saturday, Darby versus Commander, Daniel Garcia versus Mark Briscoe. So that's your tournament. So we got 6.
I actually think the Rampage part is a smart strategy.
Okay. Why?
Because most people find Rampage disposable. And if you're going to try and get parts of your hardcores to watch, the hardcores really like the C2.
Sure. But nobody's going to watch the show.
I agree. Other than the hardcores, let them watch it.
Even the hardcores.
I'm not going to watch it.
They had Okada and Ospreay wrestle on Saturday, and nobody watched it.
I get it. I'm just saying as a strategy, it's not the worst. I didn't say in practice it's the best.
I just think no matter what your strategy is, it's not going to work. So anyways, they need to.
AEW is not popular to have 3 shows. They need 1 show, period.
If Kyle Fletcher is the guy that you're trying to build into the next superstar, if Will Ospreay and Kazuchika Okada are listened as the top 2 wrestlers in the world as they're promoted, and as I think they actually are, there is no excuse for all their tournament matches not being on Dynamite. That's it.
I agree.
That's it. And Curryhead, you're missing my point. He says nobody was going to watch that show Saturday. I agree. You knew that going in. So Paul
wants the Tiffany matches on the Tiffany show.
Correct. Mark Briscoe and Shelton Benjamin, God bless them, put that match on Collision.
Put that match on there and just
Claudio, Castagnoli, and Ricochet, colliders all the way. What was the main event? Darby and Brody, Rampage main event. Here you go. That's it. Like, and Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay and Kazuchika Okada, those matches should be on Dynamite.
Yes, instead of strategizing for quality content amongst all three shows,
yeah,
you've already Paul is basically throwing in the towel on both Collision and Rampage and just saying put your great matches on your A show and try and pump the rating on that one because that's the one where you get numbers. No, I get that. I think that's a strategy
and
too.
These hardcores that you're talking about, they will tune in for Ricochet and Claudio.
I don't think that there is going to be much differential if you put a Mortos
no, you're right.
Fletcher match on Friday or Saturday.
But what will happen is that more people will see the match you want them to see.
Yes.
You're trying to build up Kyle Fletcher to be the guy coming out of this. That's my point. You want as many people
if
to see
Fletcher
is
the
possible.
story, then yes, you put all of Fletcher's you plan to put all of Fletcher's matches on Dynamite because that's the guy you're pushing. No, I
Will Ospreay there does not wrestle a singles match that is not 4 stars minimum. You want that match to be seen by as many people as possible.
Nobody gives two craps about Commander. You don't ever need one of his matches on Dynamite.
Dynamite and Collision all the way, except if he's wrestling Ospreay. Like if Ospreay's wrestling, it should be on Dynamite. That's it. That's all I'm saying. Roman Reigns was on SmackDown because it was on Fox, and that was the most viewed show. In fact,
I think, God, man, I would, if I were them, and if they think they have something in Fletcher, if they really think they have something in Fletcher, I would have put Fletcher and Okada on Dynamite. I would have had Fletcher beating Okada clean.
Yeah. Well, and that should have been next week.
Yes.
But instead, we're getting it on Saturday on Collision against the conference championships and against the UFC pay-per-view. So, whatever.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck. The match. Claudio won. Brody went for a Bonzo bomb.
Oh, right.
Claudio hit a low blow behind the ref's back and a neutralizer for the win. The match was good. Best thing on the show in terms of wrestling.
How sad is it that when Claudio comes on, I just tune out now? I really like him. Don't get me wrong. I do. It's just I don't.
It's Cesaro.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's gonna do those power moves. It's gonna be impressive, but ultimately do no damage, and people are just gonna go back to doing full speed right after.
Menard says after the match, even though he's a babyface, I think, well, he's Claudio. You got to do what you got to do. Claudio found a way. So
he is a man of shifting ideals. I do not like Menard on Dynamite. I like Menard. Don't get me wrong.
He's fine on Rampage.
He is fine on a Rampage or a Collision.
Or as Daniel Garcia's hype man.
Yes.
Claudio's got 6 points. Will and Brody have 3 each. Everyone else has 0. Who else? I have no idea.
How's your league pool doing, Paul?
What do you mean?
I'm just kidding.
Oh, I don't.
You remember last year, everybody had their pools and their picks. And
I mean, Claudio at this point, he basically needs one more win to guarantee himself a spot in the finals. So I don't know. Who would be the other 3? I guess Will Ospreay, Commander would be one. Ricochet and
Darby.
Yeah. So you know what? It's probably going to end up being Will in first, Darby in second. He's going to beat Claudio on the last one to get the spot. It would be
and then he fights Kyle Fletcher.
Next week it's Claudio and Will. So at that point, Will be going for 9 points because he'll be beating Commander on the weekend. So he'll have 6.
You know what this sounds like they're going to do?
What?
They'll put the 2 young guys in as second place guys.
And then lose.
Yeah. Jeez Louise.
I still think I think on the other block, then you've got. So this is the first time we've done, and I know John hates.
No, top 2 are Kyle and Daniel Garcia. I'm agreeing with you on that. And then the top 2 and the other one are Will and Darby.
Okada is gonna lose out.
He's gonna lose. No, I think you're. I know. I've now bought into your theory because I thought this was a way to just get a banger out of Will and Ospreay and then do Will and Fletcher, or vice versa.
Next week, we're also getting, and they announced this while they had the credits on, PAC and Moxley against Jay White and Orange Cassidy. I believe this is going to be Moxley's first Dynamite match in, I don't know how long, definitely since he came back. And they literally announced it with the closing credit on the screen. He's wrestling next week. Did you catch that?
Yes.
Okay. I'll bet you most people didn't. Yeah, so that's.
I bet people forget he's the title holder
because we haven't seen the belt.
We haven't seen the belt since he won it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's PAC and Moxley against Jay White and Orange Cassidy next week. So all right. That's the show. We almost hit our 90 minutes. So yeah, I like the show. Don't get me wrong. I just think their promotion. Were the video packages a one-off due to criticism, or will they stay? I don't know. I hope they are. I hope they stay. What do you think, Jeff?
It's weird because they're not the type of video packages I want. They're an attempt to do something. They're an attempt to be cinematic, and they're very WWE light to me. That's the thing. I think they're a noble effort. Let's put it that way. If they evolve into something, I'll be much better off about it. But I could do with less lore in any of my acts, and the Julia Hart stuff just comes off like Wyatt Six light and stuff. So
I would like it if they just did like a 30-second to a minute video package during the entrances for the Continental Classic. Basically just maybe split screen or insets from the guys in the matches.
Green screen promos from the old days of Superstars or whatever. Just do something like that, man.
Or highlights, airing, them talking over highlights of the last week's match or whatever, and like, oh, Kyle Fletcher has 6 points. He beat, so-and-so 2 weeks ago. He beat so-and-so last week. And this week he can get to 9 points if he beats Okada, like something like that. So, Lady B, I think we'll get that in the new year. I think I've gone on record as saying this on FightGameMedia.com. What Garrett had asked who we think, this is right after Moxley won the belt, who's going to be the babyface to take down Mox. My prediction was Kenny Omega. So I think that's the end game here. I don't know if I'm right, but I guess we'll find out.
I think Omega and the Bucks come back and get beat by these guys. I think we are all thinking that they're going to be the superstars.
So they're going to be teaming.
They're going to be the first Suicide Squad that comes.
They're going to be teaming,
blown up. Kenny and the Bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Bucks are bringing back Kenny from Japan.
After they
great
tried to kill
saviors
him.
of New.
The last, when I was in Winnipeg, they killed him, and I was told, "Oh, this is going to set up a big."
Well, they had a change of heart after watching their guy
Brandon Cutler.
Brandon Cutler get fake hammered in the hand.
And where does Okada fit into this?
Not Okada and Perry are on their own. Perry's at 24-hour fitness in Sherman Oaks, working out next to me.
Yeah, we have not seen Perry since the pay-per-view. If you only watch Dynamite
today,
if you only watch Dynamite, you have not seen Daniel Garcia, the new TNT champion. You've not seen him since the pay-per-view.
The Kenny return hype video isn't coming until he does his match in Japan because we don't want to kill that speciality there.
Yeah. Who's he wrestling? Gabe Kidd.
Gabe Kidd.
I'm a madman.
Hey, how about that?
He says that every match. If you're watching Gabe Kidd match, he stops and looks into the camera and says, I'm a madman. You know who's not a madman? Or you know who's a madman? Someone who doesn't tell you they're a madman. They're just a madman.
You have to tell people you're the king. You're not the king.
Exactly.
His workout, light weights for the most part.
Okay. All right.
Kind of. I mean, he was doing was it 135 on the
he's
on
there
the incline bench type.
He's there for definition, not bulk.
I think so. I mean, he's in decent shape. He works out in a t-shirt and jeans, which is funny to me. But
interesting.
Kind of black jeans and a white t-shirt, and it was like much like his scapegoat character, which killed me.
Is he joining the Death Riders?
And he has friends.
I wouldn't be surprised if he joined the Death Riders, honestly. All right, let's get your plugs in, Jeff.
I do a show called Shake the Ropes on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. This week, Chris Novembrino and I will preview NXT Deadline, in addition to going over what I thought was a fantastic Raw, and this AEW. We'll see what he thought of that. And then in Vader Club, he has sworn that he is picking a Fit Finlay match this week. I have asked for Fit Finlay versus William Regal in the parking lot or in the Junkyard Brawl, but I think he's going to pick something else from the WCW days, but it will probably be a Fit Finlay match. That will drop sometime later this week, probably Friday or Saturday.
All right. I've got, I may, like, usually before a UFC pay-per-view, I do a preview with Garrett Gonzalez on this show or on this channel, on his show, the Double G show. He hasn't reached out to me this week yet, so I don't know if we are doing a show, but you'll get a notification if you're sub to the channel. So check that out if we do it. And then I'll also, I should be on Wrestling Observer Radio this week too, because it's a UFC pay-per-view. And it's probably the least anticipated pay-per-view of the year. I was just looking at it and I already forgot who's fighting. So tune in and hear me review it for people you probably never heard of. So that's that. And then fightgamemedia.com. I've got my top 10 matches of the week every week. I missed this week because I literally typed the whole article out and I forgot to save it. And then I closed the window and it was gone. And I just haven't had time to rewrite it. So Garrett said I can just combine it next week. So that's what I'll do. I'll probably do a top 20 next week of the last 2 weeks. So that's that. So for Jeff Hawkins, I've been Paul Fontaine. Thank you all for listening and watching. This has been the Dynamite Show.